Hello, welcome back to the workout of the week from Escape Fitness. My name's Tommy Matthews. We've got Andy Phillips here who's going to do some demonstrations for us. In this week's workout, we're actually going to look at mobility and movement preparation. We're going to be working with the mobility bar. We're going to go through a really nice sequence of drills which will work to increase the range of motion across your upper body, specifically through the wrist, shoulder and thoracic areas. After that, we're going to utilize that increased range of motion and bring into some hip movements or some hip orientated exercises to increase mobility through those. So this is just a nice little sequence that you can use at any point within your movement preparation. Really easy to do with a bar. However, to start off with, you will find some of these exercises quite challenging, generally due to the tightnesses and restrictions that people will have in their, potentially in their wrists or even through their shoulder complex. Some of these will be challenging to start off with. Stick with it and see how you get on. Keep kind of persevering with it and you'll build and improve your range of motion. So Andy's going to start doing the demonstrations here for us now. First one is basically just rolling your wrist over the bar and then reaching out to the side. So Andy's just starting off nice and easy here, just rolling his wrist over, getting used to the rhythm. He's allowing the bar to slide through the other hand. So it's important that you're using a smooth bar here. You've got to have something that will slide through. Okay, and he's just going to reach out a little bit further to the side. This time as he rolls over, he's going to really push out and stretch. So he's really stretching through the forearms as well. Okay, we'll do a couple more on that side, Andy. Yep, swapping over, that's fine. Okay, so just have a look at that rhythm and that movement. He's rolling his wrist over the bar and pushing out to the side and stretching. Okay, so that's the first drill. So that's just warming up through the wrists. After this, he's going to continue that sequence on. So he's going to roll over first, and then he's going to hold onto the bar and reach up above his head. This is a lot more challenging, so go slowly with this to start off with. The idea is to get that bar in a vertical line, holding onto it with the opposite hand and keeping the grip with the fingers. So you'll notice the grip on the fingers there, he's maintained that grip. To start off with, what will happen is you'll probably want to almost let go of the bar because you can't hold onto it due to the tightnesses that you've got. Okay, we'll just do a few on the other side here. Reaching out. What also helps here when you get to the top, if you just push a little bit up there, so push from your bottom hand, and that's going to help improve the stretch through the bottom of the shoulder, through the triceps, through the lats. Okay? So after those two drills, the next one we're going to come into is just a single arm dislocation. So we're going to roll the bar over, and this is just focusing on one shoulder at a time. We're going to essentially take it around in a circle around the head. Okay? But it's focusing on one arm at a time, essentially. This is a preparation movement for the next drill, which is a little bit more challenging. So we always like to do this one first, just to prepare yourself for the next one. The next one is a double dislocation, so it's taking both arms over the head at the same time. So starting off with the bar in front of your hips, you're going to lift your shoulders and lift your thoracic, and then bring the bar straight up over your head, focusing on trying to keep your arms straight all the time. If you find it quite challenging to start with, I would advise you to take your arms slightly wider apart. You'll probably find it gives you a little bit more space in your shoulders. After that, as you improve, try to reduce the width of the grip. And what that's going to do is make it more challenging across the shoulder complex and obviously improve mobility and range of motion there. You might even be able to do that within one set. So let's have a look at that, Andy. If you just reduce your range, your grips there slightly, and that's going to hopefully make it a little bit more challenging for you. Really work to get that stretch across the shoulder complex. Okay, lovely. So what we've done there is we've started to work on increasing range of motion across the shoulder complex, a little bit across the thoracic as well. We're now going to bring into some hip action work or some hip movements. The first movement we're going to do is just prying the hip in the sagittal plane. And we're working on one hip flexor at a time essentially here. So all we're doing is we're using the bar as a support. You'll find that to get a really good stretch out of the hips, by using the bar or something similar to that to support the body, to support the weight of the body and control the body, you can really get a good stretch through the hip flexors. So what we're doing here is opening up through the anterior side of the hip. The focus when you're in this position is to squeeze your glutes tight and sort of almost push your hip towards the bar, towards the bottom of the bar. And that's really going to focus on opening up through the hip joint and also through the anterior chain as a whole. Okay, and once we've done some of those, the next one we're going to come into is an overhead lunge. We're going to bring the bar up above our head. With the bar up above our head, elbows straight, this should be a comfortable position now that you've done all of your previous preparation drills. We're going to step out in front of us into a lunge. We're going to maintain a nice, tall, strong torso, and we're going to drop that back knee down to the floor. We're going to keep our glutes tight. We're going to keep our pelvis strong, our core switched on, so our hips are nice and level. Again, this is going to be another good drill to open up through the anterior chain. Okay, so once we've done a few of those, we're going to come into some squat patterns. We're going to look at the overhead squat, but the first thing we're going to do is do some squat prying. So you're going to need a partner here to hold onto the bar. So I'm going to assist Andy to allow him to get down to a nice deep squat position. So he's going to drop down into that squat, and then he's just going to pry. He's going to pry by forcing his knees forwards to the side and moving his hips from side to side. And all we're doing there is prying the ankle complex and also the hip. Okay, and he can take as much weight off as he needs to by holding onto this bar, so it really allows him to drop into that position. Whilst he's doing that, it's also quite nice to try and focus on lifting up the thoracic as well, to try and stay nice and upright in the spine rather than falling forwards. Okay, so after a little bit of work in that one, we're then going to come back up to finish off here with an overhead squat. So with the overhead squat, all we're looking at here is again maintaining that strong position above the head. Bar stays in line with the feet, and we're going into a squat. Okay. After all of those drills, your overhead squat should hopefully feel a lot easier, a lot more free throughout the body. Okay. Should hopefully have released a lot of tension, a lot of restrictions in the upper body, and hopefully through the hip as well. So that's the sequence of drills that we want you to have a go at. Grab a mobility bar and practice and play around with those drills. If you want to test it to see how it improves, try the overhead squat first, do the full sequence, and then give the overhead squat a go at the end. It's a really nice way to see whether those drills have improved what you've been doing. The reason a bar works quite well for these sort of mobility drills is it gives you a connection with your hands down to the ground, down to your feet, and all of the fascial lines through the body will then be stretched really nicely. You can read a little bit more about that in the article attached to this workout, and obviously grab a bar and have a go at those things and spend a good week on doing them and make sure you really practice and try and work through those tight restricted areas. So we hope you enjoy those drills, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the workout of the week.